As you mentioned, my name is Mark Bissell. I'm currently at Jibe. Been there just about half a year. Before that, I was with SuccessFactors for about a decade. Spent a lot of time there in multiple versions and stages of the company. My last job there was building out what I call customer retention, customer success and renewals, really looking at this customer value question. Now I'm doing the same thing for Jibe in terms of really making sure we're keeping our customer centricity. Jibe is really focused on recruiting marketing, helping companies really have a fantastic candidate experience. So when your applicant comes to your website to get a job with you, it's a really rich, brand compliant experience. Any device, anywhere, anytime. I'm not a professional salesman like DocuSign, so I won't give you the whole pitch now, but I feel obliged to tell you that. Why don't we start on the left and just do quick intros. I've got a great panel here from Pandora, Accenture, and the San Francisco Giants. So Dave, why don't you say hi?
Cool. So I'm Dave Smith. I run monetization and yield, which means I own basically all of Pandora's saleable assets, our media inventory, as well as our audience assets, and manage how we take those to market. I've been at Pandora about a year and a half. It's a little odd for me to be in the client role because I spent about 15 years before that in a range of different tech startups, running everything from sales to customer success to solutions to pre-sales. I think I've done just about everything but write code. I've done that occasionally.
Great, welcome, thank you. Howard.
Hi, Howard McCoy with Accenture. I'm generally the person who works with the client to make sure that we get all the things necessary in our agreements to ensure they get the right delivery. I got about 20 plus years of professional experience in vendor governance, procurement, sourcing, and BPO services, advanced training in situational leadership, critical thinking, contract negotiations. The last 8 years I've been spending as a senior advisor. Prior to that, I was the director and VP for various organizations in the Bay Area.
He assures me he's not just taking 20% off every deal you're trying to bring his way. So there's more procurement than taking money off the deal. Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Schlough, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer for the San Francisco Giants. I say the world champion San Francisco Giants. I can still say that for another 3 or 4 weeks. I need to explain myself one thing first. I want to give a shout out to the AV guy over here. What was your name, man?
Mike.
Mike and I are the only guys here wearing ties. Anybody else out there? Just me and Mike.
Get a video together.
Nobody really looks above my hand, but I would say, I just want to say the reason I wear the tie is because I don't own any orange suits, and I got to represent my colors wherever I go. So anyway, happy to be here, and Howard and I were commenting as we were listening to the last couple speakers, like we're kind of fish out of water in this room. This is not our normal scene. I'm the IT guy. I'm the guy, we're guys that are spending money, but we're happy to give you a little insights into how we think.
Great, thanks, Bill. And I think that's a great place to start off. I think we're talking about customer success. We've heard success by at least, I'm going to keep track of it, it's over 100 times today, I would say already. So what better way to think about success than to think about failure? Because when do you learn the most is when you fail, right? So I want to have these guys walk us through a couple situations where we or our brethren didn't do right by the customer on the customer success side. So Bill, take us through a situation where the customer, the vendor really didn't get it.
Awesome. I love telling failure stories. But I'm not going to name any names for the failure. Maybe if I get to success, I might name a couple names. But I'm going to tell a story that's like kind of a hybrid of a whole bunch of different stories that have happened to me. So no company is really this bad. But if every company has done at least one of these things. These are all real stories. So first off, I got an email yesterday that was addressed to bracket Bill ampersand bracket, comma, and this is real. And it was from somebody I even knew, in a company I knew. And within the email, as it often says, it says, Bill, I've been trying to reach out to you, just haven't been able to connect. Really excited to talk to you about how San Francisco Baseball Associates, comma, LP can work with us to address, blah, blah, blah. And failed mail merge just right off the bat it just doesn't work for me. And but this was followed up by a phone call very shortly thereafter, and I received a phone call, picked up the phone call, and say, Bill, I saw that somebody from your company was on our website this past week, and they were looking at our software. And as a matter of fact, this is one of those. It's like the game Battleship. When you're like putting a peg in and you're like, whoa, you sunk my battleship. Well, this person actually did sink my battleship because this was something I was truly really interested in. I had a problem with a current partner, and it was me that was on this website, and they came to me, and they got lucky. They hit me with an email, and they followed the phone call, and they said, we'd love to talk to you about our product that does this and this. I say, you know what? Actually, I do have a problem with a current partner in that space. I'd love to talk to you. Let me talk to the guy who works for me, who's responsible for this area, and I'll get back to you. So I go into a meeting with, leadership meeting later that day, and I talk to him, a couple other people in there too, and I say, I got this email, this phone call from this guy, Joe, at X. He's like, yep, got it too. The other guy, yep, got it too. Everyone in my whole IT department got that email. And some of the people on the marketing side got that email too. This shotgun approach pissed me off so much that the guy who worked for me, who we were going to work with him, we were going to reach out to him, said, no freaking way are we talking to these guys. And sent him a flame email, said, we would have talked to you if you hadn't done that. So just from the start, those are a few failures right from the start. There are failures every step of the way, but those are a few of my favorite fails right off the bat.
Great, thanks. And then, can we take it, Dave, after the sale's completed and you're working with someone that you have expectations of some delivery? Talk about a time when someone has not lived up to that. They feel like you've got the customer success stories. What's the customer failure story you've been through?
You bet. So we've got my team supports about 400 sellers around the U.S. selling different media deals all day long. And one of the things that they sell is takeovers. So you can buy all of the first impression on the Pandora app when it first opens up. You can buy that for the whole day. You can buy it for mails. You can buy it in LA. All different kinds of ways you can slice it. And when you go to sell that, you've got to know how many impressions are you going to deliver. And so I've got a vendor who will remain nameless, but I realize now there's only about one of them that can do this, who gives me the forecast of how many impressions they can actually deliver. Well, my 350, 400 sellers out in the market rely on an interface into their app. It kind of goes through my order management system, but it's an interface into their app that returns that number of impressions. So you're going to buy men in LA on the mobile interstitial, you're going to get 4 million impressions in a day. And that's the forecast you get back. And without that, the seller can't sell. So that app goes down, right? This is not good, right? I've got 400 sellers out there around the United States who all of a sudden can't figure out how to put the offer together to their client, right? So I'm on the phone to the vendor, and I get 18 hours of no response, right? Just no response. And I'm pretty sure they're out scrambling trying to figure it out before they come back to me, but no response is not a good response, right? And then I get an email explaining how first I get the email explaining how they have no idea what the problem is. And then another day later, so now I'm 2.5 days into my sellers can't sell, right? And I get an email back saying, we've researched it and determined that it's Google's problem, and we have no idea how to fix it. This is not helping me, right? I've got 400 sellers beating down my team's neck, and so they're off, doing this manually, which is a godforsaken thing. And I'm not getting any help. I'm not even getting a little love. I'm not even getting a little acknowledgement that, hey, we understand you've got a problem here, and we're trying to research it, and here's where we are in trying to figure out what this problem is or what the solution is. And we literally spend 3 weeks with them standing with their hands up in the air going, it's Google, what the hell did you do? And again, this is just, it's not helpful. What I need is somebody to partner with me. And it turned out after, we dug in and we were able to put the pressure on Google to figure out, and sure enough, there was some weird setting that they changed. And once we figured it out, we moved on. But they needed to partner, they needed to let us into the understanding of where the problem was.
It wasn't even my problem, my heart rate went up. Anyone else out there is feeling heart? Yeah, right. Let's unpack that a little bit more. It's a great example. So I heard a couple of things in your statement, though. It seems like the 18-hour period of having the right person to contact, knowing what the escalation process is going to be. The contact, we talked about DocuSign in terms of having multiple levels in the organization to go to. Was any of that in place, or was that just ignored, or how'd that play out?
It was in place, and it was executed on, but it was at the wrong level. So it was going to a different part of the organization. I'm the business owner of this relationship, and that communication went to the technology owner and some of the CIO editors in my organization. And there was a failure in my organization, and I'll take ownership of that, where I didn't get that message back. But frankly, I had logged about 5 notes at that point into the CTO of this company saying, hey, you gotta get me a response here, and I was getting nothing. And it turned out his response after that was, I was trying to figure out what to tell you.
So dead air, not a good thing for taking notes on different things there. So that's great in terms of, I think, flip it around in terms of the positive pieces that come out of that. We talked about some of them in terms of predefined communication structure, an update, even if it's not the full answer. Any other takeaways that you have from those vignettes in terms of what not to do, what would you take away from the positive side of that?
I think for me, it's simple. When you talk to sales organizations, as we were listening to the dialogue in the previous panel, I said, where's the flip side of that, the customer point of view, right? That seems to be missing a lot. And based on what you just experienced is exactly that. I just recently, about a week ago, went through an experience where we were talking to the sales rep. They were up for renewal on the cloud services. And we were talking about, you got to buy this premium support. Okay, you got to buy it. Let's check the tickets for the last year. Let's see what that support looks like. So $100,000 for this premium support that you absolutely got to buy. They have 57 tickets for the year. So it was pretty basic at that point. It said, we don't have to buy. Oh, no, yes, you do. Really? Okay, so I'm saying to tell my client, says, well, if you're telling you have to buy it, you need to start looking at another provider. Because the reality is, it's the customer value that continually changes. And we expect the sales organization's values to change along with that. And you don't see enough of that. And it was almost like they were reading out of a playbook. And you could just clearly pick it up immediately and say, guys, what are you doing? And that was some of my comments like, I'm really baffled here. I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from. You're telling me you're trying to force the issue here. But going back to your point of, I heard somebody earlier talk about governance. Yeah, you can govern in terms of meeting with the leaders at, every couple of months, whatever the case might be. But what I notice about a lot of these contracts in this space, because my customers don't know, there's really no true governance in the contract that puts the rigor around it to make you accountable. And that's the piece that's really missing for them. And so when I come in, I'm looking at these contracts, it's more like you're in cleanup mode. And the only time you can really go back and get some rigor or some teeth in the contract is when it's up for renewal. And by the way, it's always good if you're on the sales side to come around besides the time there's not a problem. Be there more than you need to be. You would rather me say, don't visit me today versus coming out there. So just keep those kind of things in mind.
That's great, thanks. So a couple things I take away from that. The lines of communication with procurement, but I think also the alignment of the value offering to what the customer needs are. And I want to put one other point you made. You said something about your business is evolving, your vendor should be evolving as well. So talk a little bit about that in terms of the notion of customer success, kind of thought leadership, innovation, those types of things. How important is that to you in a relationship? Does that belong in customer success? Do you expect that from everyone in the company or just a sales rep, or how does that play out in your experiences?
Better not be just the sales rep, particularly if it's a model where the sales rep is gone after the relationship. I look for fundamentally three things when I buy software. And frankly, I used to pitch these three things when I was selling software. But the first one is the software is going to do what you say it's going to do. And so if you've got new features, I know that's a new feature. If you've got a feature that's coming 6 weeks from now, I know it's coming 6 weeks from now. I know when I buy the software what it's going to do, and it does that when it works, right? That's number one, and that's the kind of the baseline. Then, if you tell me it's going to deliver value in a particular way, it needs to deliver value in that particular way. And I've got to use it, I've got to put the right resources against it to make it work. But if I do all of that, it needs to deliver me the value that I said I was going to get. And by the way, I need a little help in making some of that work along the way. And that kind of takes me to the third piece, which is I want insight. Particularly if I'm dropping big ticket dollars on a piece of what could be what's enterprise-focused SaaS software. I want insight. I want you to come help me understand my business better than I understand my business. One of the values of either a consulting firm or a technology firm is you've seen hundreds of different implementations of my business problem with your technology. And you've got insight from that, and I want you to share that with me. That's part of what I'm paying for, and frankly, that's the thing that's going to get me to re-up. Because there's going to be somebody along, by the time that contract runs out, there's going to be somebody coming along whose software is going to functionally do most of what your software does. And that software will probably deliver me the value I want. But if you keep bringing me insight about how to use that technology, how to make my business better, that's what's going to make me loyal.
So what do you do if it's not delivering?
Well, I mean, in general, I wait too long, and wait till the contract's coming up for renewal, and then make a decision. And I'm open to hearing from the guy that hopefully didn't email blast me, but reached out. But clearly not the right.
That's my point. Is that it's what happens when you don't get those expectations met, and that goes back to the governance component. What is governance? It's a formal management framework and structure that allows the customer and the supplier to mutually manage the relationship, the contract, the service delivery, and the expectations. And if you're doing that on a monthly basis to understand exactly what you're getting in terms of delivery, that's one thing. So let's say you get 10 items and they deliver it on 7, but 3 they're missing. You're like, hey, I see every month you're still falling short. So what I would look at, and the way I would measure that the sales organization is, are they going outside of their normal structure and model to meet our expectations at that point in time? Or is it something that they keep saying, oh, we can't do this right now, we don't offer this? Well, you promised it to them. So I'm expecting you to do something. Pay that extra money on your side to make that work for me. Because when it's time to re-up, if I can go back to my leadership and say, guess what, they've delivered on 9 of their 10 promises, and this other one is coming very shortly, guess what? You have a gateway to the entire organization now. Versus, well, for now, it's the P&L, it's my bonus, I can't think about that right now. You gotta think beyond that.
I think that's a great point. Thanks for that. One thing I recognize over the years is that everyone has to fill out an ROI of some form to buy a piece of software. But very few organizations actually then go back and re-up that every year or 2 or 3 along the way back to their business leaders. So at year 3, when the renewal comes up, the business leaders, oh yeah, 3 years ago we're going to do that thing. Whatever happened with that thing? So I think there's a mutual responsibility between the vendor and the buyer to understand what is that value being delivered, how do you articulate it. I love the governance piece. It sounds like a prenup in the beginning, but I guess there's a business application for it as well, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well, Bill, I know from our conversation that maybe you've got a little different view on some pieces of this. One of the things that I would tie into both David and Howard's comment is I view SaaS as somewhat fundamentally different from legacy big software, where you sell it for a lot of money, get a big maintenance stream in the back end. It's not be locked in. It sounds like from talking and hearing Howard and David talk that there's moments where renewal's coming up. If I'm not satisfied, I'm thinking of packing my bags and going somewhere else. Talk about your experience with SaaS, ability to turn over quickly versus kind of legacy software or other technology you purchase.
Yeah, I did have a different take on that because I think in talking with you, one perspective was that SaaS is a little bit less sticky than traditional partnership where you've got hardware in place, maintenance contracts and all that type of stuff. But actually, we've kind of felt the other way around. Like in the past 2 years, we've done major rip and replaces of hardware at our ballpark. We've ripped completely out our entire network infrastructure and replaced it. We've ripped out our storage infrastructure and replaced it. We've gone through those 2 processes. But on the SaaS side, I found that actually it tends to be quite sticky because there's a little bit of a fear factor because our data is in the cloud. And it's maybe shame on us that we didn't think about it up front. We're like, whoa, wait a second, how do we get our data back? Is that in the contract somewhere? Because they've got all our data and we keep putting more and more data out there.
Well, even if it is in the contract, how in the heck are they going to give it back to you? And what are you going to do with it once you get it?
Right. So I guess a tactic for you guys is to make it as hard as possible for me to get my data back. But actually a more positive way to look at that is that as long as you guys continue to serve our needs, you've got our data, and it's me as a CIO. It's easier for me to look at in my server, whatever, in my data center server, and whenever I see these racks of hardware, I'm like, okay, I need to swap that stuff out, put something else in, maybe smaller footprint, maybe it's going to use less power, etc. Maybe it's going to be more efficient. Cool, I can do that. I get it. But with some of the software as a service stuff, I'm like, whoa, man. This is deep. It's integrated with all these different aspects of our business. I don't really want to go changing that. Yeah, you're going to have to pay another 5% again this year. All right. It works pretty well for us. So, not to tell you guys to rest on your laurels. Again, you can piss me off enough so that I go surfing the web and your competitors start calling me and saying, why are you looking at our websites? But I still think SaaS can be just as sticky or more sticky than traditional hardware.
Great, thanks for that. Any comments on that, gentlemen?
I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, when I sit back and think about what, if we were to ask for our data back, I have no idea what that would be like. And, okay, you get that data back in some form, and now you've got a new vendor, right? And okay, let's say you hand it to them. What in heaven's name are they going to do? They don't know.
It's in Greek and they want it in Latin,
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for the stickiness ideas there on SaaS. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.